for today's cup of coffee, we have, even by my standards, a rather odd story to share with you. And energy has been just weird today.
It's been sucky. It's been
Yeah.
not just weird. It's been sucky.
And we had to go out and amongst the public, and it was not a pleasant experience.
Yeah. Ooh.
And it's just.
Ooh, I
Of
was
course,
about to smack a bitch.
we also had like some rain, which was very much needed. But rain makes people stupider. I don't know why that is.
Cause it's stupid in of itself, even though it's needed. I don't like rain.
Well, it's like,
but it's needed.
I don't understand when people don't understand that, laws of physics. If there's water on the road, then that's going to take more time to stop, especially if you're going at a great rate of speed.
Right? You would think.
And it's,
you would think.
Of course, that's my bad for believing or forgetting that people don't have rational thought a lot of times these days.
People are stupid. People are stupid.
And then in the stores, it's the same thing. They will get up on top of you, and I'm like, I like that 6-foot distancing thing.
I about slapped an old lady today that followed us to 3 different aisles.
I don't know, and it's like, sometimes, and maybe it's a test of patience when you get these people that
my patience
you
is
try to
low.
get away from them, and no matter where you go, there they are.
My patience is low.
So anyhow, well, maybe this will bring a little mirth to your spirit. And this is from Mysterious Universe and by Brent Swanser, and this was written August the 5th of this year, 2021. So this is relatively fresh.
We loves it.
Hot off the press, relatively. And this is the bizarre case of the Bride of Bigfoot.
I never heard of the Bride of Bigfoot.
I've
heard of the Bride of the Bride of the Living Dummy.
No, I had actually.
I've heard of Bride of Chucky.
From years ago, I had
Bride of Frankenstein.
Remembered this. And Mr. Swanser writes, tales of Bigfoot have over the years encompassed a wide range of phenomena, ranging from the somewhat plausible to the decidedly far out.
Somewhat plausible.
Well, yeah. You know, anytime that you've got somebody that's a skeptic, they're going to write in a skeptical way.
Yeah.
So, you know, it says, we have sightings of what could be actual living creatures interspersed with wild stories of a more paranormal nature and everything in between. One area that has long been thought of as particularly fringe, even within the field of cryptozoology, is that of the individuals who claim to have been actually kidnapped and held captive by the Bigfoot. And one really weird story comes to us from the wilds of Northern California. Of course it would.
Of course.
And it's like, you know...
I didn't know Bigfoot was in, you know...
As far as California, Northern California and stuff like that. Oh, yeah. And up in Oregon and stuff, some of those areas are so wooded that there's areas that very few humans have actually traveled into. I mean, it's very densely forested.
I thought it was here in the Appalachians or whatever.
Just Bigfoot, just there? Oh, no.
Okay.
No. You know, even as far as, I think, Alaska and different places, whatever these creatures are, even as far as the Yeti, on, I think, most continents, there have been similar cryptids spotted.
Right.
So there's got to be something to it. And I know those have it's like,
we know it's just the monkey that is incredibly rare.
I think that it's still some kind of
Gigantopithecus. Yeah, I believe that too.
And I think that, you know, there's other people that have other theories, but, you know, that was just like the silverback gorillas. They swore that those things were mythical until they were actually found. There's been quite a few animals and stuff that people, it's like, oh, well, those were extinct or those never existed, and until they were found. So I really...
They're still finding things that they thought were extinct.
So I really do believe that Sasquatch is within that category.
Uh-huh.
I'm not one of these that makes fun of people that are trying to find Sasquatch.
Right, neither am I, because I do believe in it.
Right. And I think that those guys...
But to buy a Bigfoot...
Well, we ain't got to that yet. Anyhow, we'll go back to that, and then we'll ponder on the other ones. It says back in 1976, 25-year-old Sherry Darvall, I guess that's Darvall.
Sherry Duval?
Not Duval, Darvall, or Darvale, I think is how it is, of Redding in Shasta County,
Sherry
California.
Duval.
No. Was an amateur filmmaker. God loves Sherry what's her name?
Sherry Duval.
God
We love her.
Yeah, she's had a hard time. Yeah. Anyhow, this other chick was an amateur filmmaker who had become very interested in the Bigfoot phenomenon.
Oh my God, it is Sherry Duval.
No. Now you've got to follow this or you're going to miss it. At the time, she was dating a man named Ron Olson, whose father was Frank Olson of the A&E Film Distributing Company. I started to say distribution company, but it's a little bit different.
Yeah, anyhow, that's very different.
Owned by Russell Nyhart, Bishop of the Mormon Church in Salt Lake City in Utah. Now this backstory matters. All right, this already seems a bit odd, and making it even odder was that Nyhart's good friend, Jeremy Romney, wonder if he's kin to Mitt, for real.
Mitt Romney.
Who was also a big shot at A&E, had become a bit notorious in cryptozoology circles for claiming to have been the guy in the ape suit in the famous Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film. And not only that, but he had infamously claimed to have signed the payroll checks for Roger Patterson from July to October 1st of 1967. So far, so weird, and it is unknown just how much of this has to do with what was to come for Darvale, but she certainly already had her foot in the world of Bigfoot, and not necessarily in a good way. And for all these years, they have been trying to discredit the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot film.
Uh-huh.
And that was, as far as the first time that supposedly that Bigfoot was filmed. Of course, that was just then where people could have a way to make home videos and stuff.
Right.
So the fact that you've got people with a foot in Hollywood and such trying to discredit something, that in itself is...
That's sketchy.
Oh, yeah. Because
sketchy,
it's one of those, this has been the propaganda machine for generations now.
Propaganda.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's late in the day. Give me a break. We had to Walmart.
I'm tired too.
We had to Walmart. In May of 1976, Darvale embarked on an excursion into the wilds of the Six Rivers National Forest in Eureka, Humboldt County, California, along with a group of others, including her boyfriend Olson and two other filmmakers by the names of Ed Bush and Terry Gaston. Their mission was to capture footage of the elusive Sasquatch, which was well known for being sighted in the region, and which at the time had been sighted several times in the area. Indeed, they were headed towards the Bluff Creek area, which is famously the location of the Patterson-Gimlin Bigfoot footage. It seemed like a promising place for them to go hunting for Bigfoot, and by all accounts, they would get more than what they bargained for. At some point during the expedition, Darvale allegedly got separated from the group and seemed to vanish without a trace. For 3 days, a massive search was carried out in the area, but no sign of her could be found. On the third day of the search, something very strange happened when Darvale walked into a ski lodge far from where she had disappeared, looking dazed, disheveled, and carrying what was reported as a bushel of lilies and twigs. At first, she seemed too disoriented to really talk about where she had been, but as she gained lucidity and started to respond to questioning, Darvale began to weave a very bizarre tale. She claimed that on the day she had gotten separated from her group, it had been about dusk, and as she wandered about, she had encountered none other than a hulking Bigfoot there in the woods. The hairy giant reportedly had just stood there staring at her for a few moments before grabbing her and dragging her off through the forest to what she called its den. Once at the den for the next few days, she claimed that the Bigfoot had kept her captive, bringing her gifts of berries, flowers, stones, pebbles, and dead birds in what she had taken to be a gesture of affection. She says that she was only able to escape one day when the Sasquatch had fallen asleep, after which she snuck out and found her way to the lodge. When the incredibly outlandish story made the rounds, she was soon being called the Bride of Bigfoot. But authorities not only did not take any of this seriously at all, deeming it to be a prank, but it also even led to a court case in which Humboldt County tried to sue Shasta County to make them pay part of the $11,613 cost of the search operation. And making it all even more bizarre was that Darvell's fellow filmmakers, Bush and Gaston, would later claim that they had actually captured footage of the Bigfoot carrying her away up the mountain, although they refused to release it. In the end, Darvell would sell her story to the Weekly World News.
Oh.
The last bastion of quality journalism, sarcasm heavily implied, for $250. And it would all sort of eventually fade away, the common view being that it was all a publicity stunt.
Because it's Weekly World News.
I love the Weekly World News. However, Darvell would continue to insist that she was telling the truth. The whole thing is almost certainly a hoax, but it is so bizarre and admittedly defended by the one involved that it has managed to achieve a certain cult status within the history of Bigfoot phenomenon, and whether any of it is true or not remains a singularly wild tale. Now, for her this many years after that, account, to still insist that it really happened, that says something.
But does she tell the story consistently?
I would say that she probably does. And I remember, because I was a huge fan of the Weekly World News, and I remember reading about that. I loved the Weekly World News because it was like comic books. I mean, it truly was. And you would be amazed that no matter how bizarre a story was, that somebody would believe it. And that I used to feature some of the stories on, when I was in radio.
Yeah.
And I would have people call and go, "Is that for real?" And I'm like, no.
God. People are just stupid. But I'm sure they do trickle some truth, I guess.
Absolutely. That's what I was going to say. In the movie Men in Black, do you remember they were talking about as far as using the Weekly World News as the newspaper, the actual newspaper? So, who knows? And I miss the Bat Boy. Oh, God, do I miss the Bat Boy.
Bat Boy. That one's a classic.
He was just awesome. But could this event have happened? Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, the animal didn't hurt her.
Right, yeah. Technicality. It did drag her, though.
Well, But... And even as far as the original film, I have seen that has been scrutinized since it was released. There are those who say absolutely that it's legit. There are those who say absolutely it's not. As far as it being an ape costume, I don't think that anybody would have had the foresight to create all the distinguishing marks that footage included.
Right. Or maybe they did. I don't know. I haven't seen the film.
Well, one of the main things as far as the skull, and there was, I can't remember, of course in the Himalayas, that this group of monks or somebody had preserved for a long time. It was basically almost like the scalp of a Yeti. and the head is not as rounded as the heads of the great apes and stuff like that. There's almost like a pointiness to it.
Like the
And
cone heads almost?
not that pointy. And that there were other things, even as far as the stride, that as far as a person trying to replicate that, that would have been basically impossible.
Right.
As far as the Bigfoot tracks over the years, one of the ones that stood out to me the most was where there was a deformity of the foot that would have meant that the foot had been broken at some point and had healed back incorrectly, as we've seen that with animals lots.
Yeah.
You know, but even as far as the depth of the tracks, the heel version and the toe version.
Right, because they're pretty deep.
Sure, and there are people, of course, that have tried to fake this lots over the years.
Yeah, they try to debunk it, stuff like that.
Well, the ones that are trying to fake the footprints and stuff like that, they usually screw up someplace, because the people that are the true researchers on Sasquatch, they're not stupid people.
Yeah.
Anybody who is researching these cryptids, I don't know why that they don't, and other people don't understand. This is a legitimate field of science.
I don't know. I don't know if it's because for years it's been considered like legend or whatever, or pseudoscience,
Well, but they don't have a problem with SETI.
That's
so
true.
What's the difference?
I don't know.
And I think part of it is, and I have a lot of empathy for the Bigfoot researchers.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going out into the woods, especially at night and stuff like that. They never know what's going to be out there, because there's more things in the woods than just a Sasquatch.
Right, yeah. There's a lot of things in the woods that we don't know what's in there.
Well, I mean, it's the things
Even
that we do know.
Yeah.
In other areas,
Bears?
they have much larger bears than what our little black bears. They're not. I've seen dogs bigger than some of these black bears.
Ours around here could be dangerous, but they're really cute. Actually, they're small.
But in some of those other places, they have like grizzlies and some of the really huge bears.
Grizzly bears are dangerous.
They have cougars. We have bobcat around here, but you very rarely hear of anybody mentioning them.
We've heard them before, though.
Well, I had heard a panther one night. There's a difference.
Oh,
between
we
the
do have
panthers
panthers around here.
Mm-hmm. So there's a difference, and I think that the trail cam that Mom had at one point, I think that there was like a bobcat on that. So there are things that could hurt somebody if they were there at night. So, like I said, I've got a lot of empathy for these people that research Sasquatch.
Right.
And it's like they're the ones that they're the kicking people. Everybody wants to kick them.
It's the same thing as paranormal investigators.
Sure.
It's just for a physical being. That's all it is.
And most people are skeptical until it happens to them.
Yeah.
And then they're very adamant believers.
But even sometimes the people that, have paranormal experiences that were skeptics before, they go right back into that skepticism, being like, oh, that was something else.
Well, and then people do that with lots of different things. They gaslight themselves.
Very much so, yeah.
So, but as far as could this woman have been waylaid by this creature, I don't know whether it could or could not have happened. I don't know that I have ever heard tell of any of the great apes, doing that with humans. They're usually very reclusive. They usually stay away from humans. I mean, Jane Goodall was the one that did the research on the gorillas and stuff.
Yeah.
And it took a long time before the I can't remember if it's a herd of gorillas or a tribe of gorillas or whatever it was. The grouping of gorillas accepted her to where she could interact with them. I mean, it took her years.
Right, yeah.
And she honestly got along better with the gorillas than she did other people.
They didn't eat her face off, did
No,
they?
they didn't chew her face off or anything. But no, they accepted her as one of them, and then when she would have to come and explain about her research, because that's how she got the funding to do her research, you could tell that she was very awkward around humans.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
I mean, yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are actually more comfortable with animals than they are with humans.
Mm-hmm. And we don't know. We don't know if this Sasquatch had maybe gotten separated from his tribe or something like that, his group.
Yeah.
And that seeking companionship. I mean, there's a lot of things that could have happened there.
Very much so. There could have been. I mean, that is a fascinating story. And the fact that it actually did not try to harm her after it got her there.
Right. And you know, as far as her going to the Weekly World News, well, nobody else would listen.
Yeah. So, maybe it actually did happen. It's possible.
Well, it didn't say anything about her trying to write a book or going on tour or anything like that, other than the story being printed in the Weekly World.
Yeah. Like, she could, if she was really seeking publicity, she could have gone all out with that, but she didn't. She chose not to.
Right. And the fact that it was that film group, I mean, that could have been, you know, before Blair Witch Project.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So there.
But for some reason, people thought the Blair Witch Project was more believable than, you know.
It was well done. It really was well done.
It was done. The original was well done.
The original, I didn't even bother with the remakes. I don't own anything.
The sequels and the remakes.
But anyhow, is it within the realm of possibility that this woman actually was detained by this creature? I think it's feasible.
Yeah. I think it is too. I mean, considering we're living in a world where people can get literally possessed.
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah.
What makes that unlikely?
That a Bigfoot could
kidnap someone, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've heard of stranger things. And
same. There's stranger things on TV all
$250 is not a lot for
a story. It's not a lot.
No, it's not.
For a lot more.
And especially the ridicule that she has gotten and continues to get.
I wonder if she's still alive, or
I don't know. I didn't research to see if she was still alive.
Yeah.
But I think if that was a publicity stunt, at some point, somebody in the group would have said, "Hey, this was just bogus."
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely, someone would have said bogus by now.
Yeah, because it's hard to keep a hoax that many years.
Yeah. And it's hard not to slip up.
Right. So anyhow, let us know what you think in the comment section below. If you've had experiences with the supernatural or paranormal, encounters with UFOs or aliens, or cryptids such as the Bigfoot, Wendigo, any other types of cryptids, Loch Ness Monster.
Big feet.
Big feet. That's your favorite of the big feet. If you've got local legends,
like big feet,
I don't. They freak me out. If you got local or family myths, anything like that, give us an email at cupofcoffeewithscream @gmail.com. Yeah, there's other ones as far as these flying cryptids that has ramped up quite a bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on the list. Future cups.
Jersey Devil's fascinating.
Yeah.
It really is.
Some scary stuff. There's some interesting things out there.
Yeah.
Including a story, I was looking at that one possibly for today, which I had heard this one years ago also, down in New Orleans, that these people had this encounter with this being that very well could have been in the vampire category. True vampire.
Huh.
And no, it didn't sparkle.
That was from Twilight. Twilight was horrible anyway.
We will again save that one for a future cup. You all have a beautiful, blessed day. And keep your eyes open.
Yeah.
Bye.
Jersey Devil, Bride of Bigfoot.